Welcome back to Growing Up Late. I'm here today with Ruchika Singhal, and she is a reinvention coach, a facilitator, an author, founder of the Elevare Advisory. After more than 25 years in senior leadership roles across global healthcare companies, including Johnson & Johnson, AstraZeneca, and Medtronic, she now brings her corporate experience and personal reinvention journey into her work with individuals, teams, and organizations. She's the author of Happiness is Right Here, the Reinvention Playbook, and host of Lead with Ruchika, the Reinvention podcast, where she explores what it means to pause, pivot, and start over with purpose. And as impressive as all that sounds, I feel like Ruchika herself is far more impressive than even her resume. And I'm really looking forward to talking with you today. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on and welcome.
Thank you, Jeannie. It's wonderful to be on your wonderful podcast, which I've been watching for quite some time.
Oh, thank you. So you've had this major leadership career across global healthcare, and now you're doing reinvention work. What was the moment when you realized that the life or career you had built no longer fully fit you?
So, Jeannie, it was a creeping realization which kept building over a period of maybe a couple of years. And initially when you get this feeling, you kind of brush it away, thinking it's like a whimsical thing which has just come to you and it's going to go away. I mean, this is what you know, and this is what you've been doing your entire life. So why would you suddenly not feel so happy about it or dissatisfied? So it's a very quiet but persistent feeling that something is amiss here. It kind of, slowly starts shrinking you in a way that's very difficult to describe. And therefore, many people don't even realize that there's something more to this than just about something that'll just come and go. So I think I sat with it for quite a bit of time, like I would say a year and a half to 2 years. I think it started 2 years before, and then it just kept building up and building up till the point came when I could get the courage. So I think you also need the courage and absolute conviction, even if you have no plan in front of you, to say this is not working out. And I think that is the call that you need to take. So I took that call. I had no plan of what I could do. I actually thought, can I do anything? Because I've been working all through my life. I've never been an entrepreneur. I've never done anything on my own. I've been working in companies following a plan which is laid out, leading teams, yes, but basically there's an overarching plan. So you're always part of something big. So creating something yourself, I wasn't even sure. Actually, when I left, I was like, do I need another job or will I do something on my own? Even that was not clear. So I think one of the things that I really realized when I look back at my own life, and I realized this has happened to me before. And I navigated it exactly the same way, but now I understood what I was doing because I put words to it. I made it seem like it's a structure that I've gone through. So I'll give you an example. When I was in my 20s, somewhere like in the mid 20s, I lost my job. And that was very kind of catastrophic at that point in time because suddenly you are like, oh, my identity is gone. I don't have anything. Now what? But I think what I did intuitively, because I didn't know anything better, intuitively, I would wake up every day in the morning and I would have this void, this kind of a feeling like I'm not happy, but I don't want to look for a job. I'm not happy, but I don't want to look for a job. Then what do I need to do and what should I be doing? I said, nothing, And I think when you give yourself that pause, it is so wonderful. So I did nothing for 3 months, even then, without knowing that that is a good thing to do. And I think everybody around me told me, what are you doing? You're not getting married. You are not working. And this is a very important thing in India, right? Like you are
Hmm.
married or you are working or you're doing something. Not doing anything is like you're wasting your life and you're wasting your time. But I think at that point, I got into a kind of a meditation and I got into my own stuff to kind of give me that sense of being. But I did nothing for 3 months. And then I started feeling this intense thing in my mind that I want to pivot. I want to do something different. And I'm like, why can't I go back to studies? I want to study something. I want to study. And then it was like, what do I want to study? Then I'm like, why not do an MBA? Because that's something I really coveted all my life, but I never did that. I started working after my undergrad. So then I went for my MBA. I came to the US. I did it from University of Pennsylvania. And that changed the direction of my life. So then I went into healthcare and all of that. And I think this happened again to me now when I left my corporate world. And I'm like, yes, I will do nothing for a few months. And I'm going to think about what is it that I feel like doing. And so I created the structure, Jeannie, which is there in my book, Happiness is Right Here, which basically says that identify what you're going through. Don't call it a failure, a breakdown, a confusion. Call it that I'm between identities. So when you give it a name, you are standing away from it and you kind of are able to process it much better. So you say that, okay, I'm between identities is the first step. And the second one is what? You have to say bye bye to your old identity. And I think that's a very important point most of us miss out on. We keep hanging on to the past because we never bid farewell to it. And this is something I say this even to my clients is this that, every occasion in our lives, right from childhood, whether it be a birthday, to be a job offer, to be retirement, we know how to mark endings, right?
Mhm.
But we never know how to mark something like this, like a between identity thing. So saying goodbye to that and saying thank you to it, because it was a chapter in your life that was important at a particular point in life, helps you to stay in this space now. So now you are in this in between space. Now, this in between space is terrifying. It's scary. It's frightening because you have no map here. You don't know who you are anymore because your old identity is gone. Your new one has not yet emerged. So you are in that space. But I realized, Jeannie, that if you can be in this space long enough, it can be the most regenerative spaces of your life. And this is where a new identity emerges because you give it time and space to even see what is coming out from within you. If you keep hanging on to the old thing and don't bid goodbye to the old identity, the first thing we do is run to familiarity because
Mhm.
familiar pain is better than an amazing uncertain possibility. So that is why people stay longer in relationships that have stopped nourishing them years ago. People stay in toxic jobs because they see at least we know we have a job. Because
Mhm.
nobody wants to be in that uncertain space. But if you can be in that uncertain space long enough, your life is going to get into a much better space, a much better possibility. And that is how, for me, this has also emerged. And now I could give it a structure. I could put my thoughts to it, and that's called the reinvention playbook. And I also do this with my clients because now I can put some words and structure to it.
In the beginning, you said it's kind of hard to explain, but what my experience was as you were talking was all in, completely relatable. Whether the change comes from outside of you, like losing a job, even though you know you're dissatisfied, you're willing to stay in a poor situation that's not really your highest self, your best use of time and energy, or the change is coming from you, where you become dissatisfied on your own and have the courage to step away from a
Yeah.
wonderful career and a sure thing. Either way, though, that
Yeah.
feeling that you described, the decision to make the change, what you feel like in the waiting room in
Yeah.
between, and how you go
Yeah.
next, it's
Yeah.
very, very visceral and very identifiable, whether the
Yeah.
change is coming externally or
Yeah.
internally. You mentioned your book, Happiness is Right Here, and I'll put a link to that in our show notes. But I really like the framework you have of pause, pivot, and
Mm,
propel, which you
mm,
were describing it quite
mm,
well. but I
Mm.
just thought maybe to put language to that and you
Yeah,
could walk us
yeah,
through like what
yeah,
each stage means, especially for someone, because there are
yeah,
some people that are listening who have made a change or had a change happen
yeah,
at them, but for
yeah.
people who are stuck and don't know what comes
Yeah.
next.
Yeah, yeah. So again, Jeannie, it's like the pause, right? Pause is very, very important because, so I'll tell you, there was this client who called me up, and so I have something called a discovery call where people can, schedule calls with me. So this person scheduled a call with me, and for the entire 15-20 minutes, he was just so angry with his company because he just lost his job. And he was a very senior person, and he was in that company for like some 20 years or 18-20 years, so a very long time. And he had no idea that he was about to lose his job. So it kind of
Mm.
happened very suddenly. And he was like, for 15-20 minutes, he was so angry with the company. And he's like, I want to, like, I want to do this course with you. I want to do this. I want to do that. So I realized that this person is in that state where something has happened to you and you want to do something now. It's action, right? So I just told him one thing: do nothing for a week. Just don't do anything for a week. And he was quite stunned. And I said, because anything you do now in this 1 week is only going to be very destructive. It's not going to add any value to you in the long term. So don't do anything for a week. And I remember he called me after 2 weeks, Jeannie, just to thank me.
Wow.
And he said, thank you for telling me that time not to do anything. And I'm in such a better place now. And today he's running his own company. He started his own company,
That
you know?
that's awesome. The opposite of what the world says, but just don't do something. Sit there.
Mm. Yeah,
Sit there
yeah, yeah,
because you
yeah,
have to
yeah,
arrive where you are
yeah. Yes,
before you can assess and know where to go
yes.
next.
Yes. And so and I said to him that, just enjoy your time with your family. He never got time with his family. He was running from one place to the other. So the thing that I always say in the pause is that just be still. Just absorb it. If you're feeling angry, experience the anger. If you're feeling embarrassed, experience it. Experience all the feelings you're feeling. Because even feeling those, you have to feel at some point in your life. And if you don't feel them now, you'll feel them later. So as much as you can feel them now, just be angry. It's fine. Accept it. You are, and it takes a kind of a direction. It starts with anger, then it kind of goes into embarrassment, anger, humiliation, all of that, till it finally comes to reflection. That's the last one. So it kind of takes that journey, and I think you have to reach there. So that's the pause that I always say. And then I say, always look at what is great in your life. See, job is only one aspect of your life. It's not your life, but we tend to make it so because our whole identity becomes tied to our jobs.
Mhm.
And the first thing that people say when they meet you, like if strangers meet at a party or they meet you somewhere and they ask you, oh, so, who are you? What do you do? And then, you're like, I do this. And actually, some clients have told me this. They don't know what to say anymore when they meet anybody because now they feel they are doing nothing. And that for them is embarrassing. It's
Yep.
like, okay, now who am I? Who am I? I'm not doing anything, right? So when we put our identity completely with our jobs, I think that's what can really break you. And that's what most people
Ugh.
end up doing.
You put
Hmm.
all your happiness in someone else's pocket. If you're over identifying with your career, who are you?
Absolutely. So that's the point, that it's like saying that now I don't know who I am. So it's an identity loss, pretty much for many people. And I think that's more crazy. So I'll give you one more example of one of my clients who contacted me similarly. And she contacted me after 8 months of losing her job. So it took her 8 months to even connect with me. And she said, I just, read your post and I kind of connected with you. And she said, since 8 months, she has not been able to open her laptop even to look for a job.
Mm.
So this is how people get affected. So it's not like you lose a job and you can do something else. It kills you from inside. You lose your entire confidence. She actually told me that her hand starts shaking when she opens her laptop
Mm.
and everything gets blurred. on the screen because she has just lost her confidence, right? Because it's been so toxic and then losing her job. So she feels, what should I do now? What is it that I need to do? Because I can't even look for a job anymore. And it's been 8 months, but now I figured out I need to do something. So that's when I told her that please celebrate, yeah. So I told her the first thing I said to her was, I made it seem to her that it's a normal thing. You're not the only one who's gone through it, right? Every person always goes through something like that. Every person has gone through a toxic job or a job loss or a restructure. You're not the only one. So I think when you make it easier for somebody like that, she kind of became a bit okay. Then she called me after a week and she said, now I'm feeling better. Now, what should be the next step for me? So I said, you cut a cake with your family, cut a cake to say, I say bye bye to my old job. I say bye bye to everything old that was me. And I'm starting my new life again. And I think that is it may look, why should I be cutting a cake for something like this? It is so healing. It kind of really makes you realize, yes, that identity for me is over. And I'm going to now start looking at my life in a new way. So
I
these
love
are,
that.
yeah, yeah. So these are small things, but they go a long way, So these are the things that are very important in the pause. But then also, like I mentioned, the pivot is more like you can pivot only if you are able to be in that uncertain space, right? That I talked about. You are in this space where the old identity is over. The new one has not yet emerged for you. How willing am I to be in this uncertain space? Because if I think certainty is going to come first, absolutely not. Certainty
Mm,
always comes last. What comes first when we are in this uncertain space is curiosity. Am I getting interested in something? Is something attracting me? Is something energizing me? Is something draining my energy? So you start looking at these signals, and these signals give you direction before direction really becomes visible. And I think that astuteness and that awareness will only happen in that space if you've said goodbye to the old identity and you're willing to be in that space, in that uncertain space, because only then those signals are going to be received by you. And only then are you moving forward for the emergence of a new identity. And that is why, like I said, why is it that most people after breakup still go back to their old boyfriends and their exes and their all of that? Because this uncertain space of not having anybody in your life is more killing than being with a toxic person in your life,
yeah. Yeah, the in
right?
between is not a comfortable place to be. And I love that you use the word curiosity because that is really what it is. Instead of trying to know
Yeah,
and think your way through it,
yeah,
there's a lot of
yeah,
feeling that has to
yeah.
exist. And
Yes, yes.
and you're describing one woman's story. You're answering questions before I've asked them, which is amazing because you're describing a woman who midlife, high functioning on the outside, but quietly asking, is this
Mm.
still my life? What do you think their thought process is like? Or this woman, for example, while she's transitioning from not being able to open her laptop to, and I didn't mean to
Take-
cut you off because I know
Yeah,
you
yeah,
want to cover
yeah.
Propel, but like,
No, that's fine. So, that's a great question. And I think what really happens, Jeannie, is when you go through something traumatic in your life, and this can be very traumatic because your identity is snatched away from you,
absolutely.
is is the fact that you don't know yourself anymore. You don't know who you are anymore. And what happens here is that you start replaying everything that happened to you in the past again and again and again. Could I have done something better? What was my mistake?
Mm,
Uh, who said something to me? Was I not mature enough to handle it? Maybe I made a mistake. So you keep replaying the past over and over in your head, so much so that you absolutely are convinced that you made a huge mistake. You are the person to blame, and you are the most horrible person. So when you keep replaying the past, which has not worked out for you, this is what really happens. So now you are in this space. Now, from this space, you've lost your confidence now because now you've taken the blame on yourself, even though it was nothing to do with you. But you've
Hmm.
taken the entire blame on yourself. So you are not in a position to function anymore because you are thinking, I'm not good enough. How can I be good enough for the next thing now when I
Hmm.
wasn't good enough for the past thing? So you are at that space.
Yeah. I definitely feel like I've heard this from someone I know who talked to me when I was going through my troubles and my reinvention, I guess, or my
Mm,
do-over, that the why, like, why did
mm,
this happen to me or how
mm.
did I get here? The answer to that is like the booby prize. It does you no good to ruminate on how we got here. It's like the example I have is if I am driving down an icy road and I end up in a ditch, I don't stay in the ditch for 10 years. I call a tow truck. And in this case, for career reinvention, you're the ambulance.
Yeah, yeah, I know. So very beautifully put, this analogy you gave is very, very nice. So this is what really happens to the person when that person is going through that. So he's just replaying. So that's why I said you have to give bid farewell to your old identity, and you have to mark it like a celebration, saying that this was a fantastic chapter, even if you were there for 15 years, 18 years, and they all did fantastically well. It was only in that last part that there was a restructure, there was whatever, and they lost their jobs. So I always, so when they celebrate this, and I said, call your children to celebrate with you. So you celebrate this occasion of secession of your old identity with your children, celebrate it, say, thank you so much for being my identity for 18 years, but now your relevance is over in my life. And now I'm going to start fresh. That has a very strong, that actually starts. So it's all here. It's all here. And when you start doing these rituals, which we all have learned very early in our life to do, but we never do it when you are breaking your identity and you are going into something new. That's the only place you never do a ritual.
I love
And
it. I love that you do this because if you don't do this, our brains love what's familiar and it's going to keep running
keep
back to what it knows
absolutely,
unless you
absolutely
draw that
break.
line in the sand.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And that is why, like, and I've seen this with my friends, they are in toxic relationships for 3 4 years longer than they should have been,
Mm.
and the only reason is this, you know
Yeah.
so yeah, so it's that regenerative space. You have to make it your regenerative space. And for me, Jeannie, the same thing happened, right? So this was a space I gave myself for maybe a year at least. I was thinking, I was like doing stuff, I was like, and I think that gave me, so I went into the thing, what is it that I love? I love supporting and working with people, because this was my job, because I used to have huge teams of 200, 400, 500 people, and I used to spend a lot of time in mentoring, coaching, because I always believed you are only as good as your team. You are only as good as your team. So your teams have to be so up there. So I used to spend a lot of time doing
It's a
that.
big
And I
investment, isn't it? To make sure that the
huge
they
investment of time. Yeah, and effort. And so I said, this is what I love doing. And this has always given me success through my life. Because of that, I always had the best teams, always stretching themselves above and beyond. So this is how that, that curiosity thing came in me, that, okay, this is a space I want to work in. Then I'm like, how can I have an impact on people's life? And then, so slowly, 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 things started stacking up together. And I went into this particular place of being a reinvention coach, where I support professionals who are in that in between space.
That's wonderful. And really as the coach of a team or the leader of a team, you really picked the thing you loved out of your
Yeah,
career
yeah,
and made it
yeah,
it's that one
yeah,
element the whole
yeah.
career. And it
Yes,
is it's I have led teams as well. And the best part of it is helping people decide this is for me, this isn't for me,
yeah,
or
yeah,
am I on
yeah,
the right seat on the
yeah,
bus? And
yeah, yeah,
encouraging
yeah.
people and
Yes,
helping
yes,
guide them. That's wonderful.
yes,
I love how you flipped that. And it's
yeah.
kind of like you narrowed your focus into what you love the most.
Yeah, absolutely. And now I just love it. So I feel like this part of my life has been and it's just been like 10 months for me. Yeah. But this has been one of the most fulfilling in the real sense of the term. Maybe I was just ready for this, you know? And when you hear those signals and you kind of just,
Mhm.
and to be honest with you, Jeannie, my parents never understood this for the longest time. They were like, what the hell are you doing? I mean, you are so successful, you are so this. Why
You
don't you
have an
just,
impressive resume.
yeah, why don't you just go for another job here, there, and all? I'm like, no, I just don't want to do that. And my dad is an army person, you know, so he's like a very disciplined and a very this thing, but he loves me to death. So he's like, okay, whatever makes you happy. But I think your family is the last to understand what you really are doing, even though they love you a lot.
Hmm.
And I think today my dad is like, okay, he sees me, he sees what the work I'm doing. So he's very proud of me. But I just feel like, you know, you have to, when you are in that in between space, sometimes you are alone because there are not too many people who understand you, because it's like you are in that space, not really doing, which people can see. It's not visible, but there's a lot you are
No.
doing inside, you
Yeah,
know?
there's a lot going
So,
on in that space in
yeah,
between.
yeah,
That is very solitary work.
yeah.
And
Yes, yes,
you aren't really saying this, but there you have to be so brave to do this. And it to me, from what I'm hearing is the courage comes before the action.
absolutely.
You have
Yeah,
to
yeah,
commit and
yeah,
have the
yeah,
courage to follow
yeah,
your heart, your
yeah.
convictions, and
Yes,
then the action, you're going to know what to do
yes,
next once
yes,
you
yes.
get
Yeah,
get centered with yourself in
yeah.
that.
Yeah, and that's why I wrote this book, because I'm like, I will not be able to reach everybody, but I want people to know that it's okay to be in that space. It's the most amazing space. And as long as you can understand that and believe that, you'll be willing to be in that space. But the moment people come and put pressure on you, what are you doing? You've not still decided what you want to do. You are doing nothing. When you start hearing these things as echoes in your life and you are sitting in that in between space, it rushes you. It rushes you to do something stupid. It rushes you to do something in a haste. And that's why, like, this is a big thing that I do with, you know, my clients who reach out to me in the in between space. But there's so many people. And I think everybody goes through this space. Every person in some time in their life will go through this space. It could be a personal thing. It could be like maybe their children left, you know, and you are alone now. It could be
Hmm.
something like you had a divorce, you know, you are in that in between space. It could be something personal, like it could be a health thing that happened to you and you've just come out of it and now you feel like you are alone. There's so many different variations of how you can be in that in between space in any aspect of your life. And I think everybody goes through it without knowing you are in this space. And I think this space can make you very vulnerable, and this space can make you feel with so much pressure coming from all sides that I don't think I should be in this space. So you try to hurry to get out of the
Hmm.
space, to
Oh,
escape this
yes.
space. So that is why you go to the previous place, because that's more comfortable, or you jump into something which maybe was not meant for you.
Hmm.
So
Hurry for the
both
next
things. Yeah,
relationship, the next
yeah,
job, instead of actually
yes,
settling on what's
yes,
the right thing for
yes.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that's why this space is so terrifying for most people. And because there's no support in this space, because nothing is visible to anybody in this space. It's all internal that's happening. And that is why anchors help, you know, if it's a book, if it's a reinvention coach or any other person that you can be your anchor at that point in time, really helps, because it helps, that person can help you to navigate that space much better. Otherwise, it's tough to uh, do it.
I would imagine that as a result of the transition you went through in your own personal life, and when other people go through these
Yeah,
transitions, when you guide them through these
yeah,
transitions, you have to come up with a new definition for what success looks like. You
yeah,
have to have a new definition, not
yeah,
the old version.
yeah, yeah,
How has your own reinvention
yeah,
changed what you define as successful?
yeah. So, see, earlier the metrics were how much money you are earning, what designation you have, how many, so it was all very out there, and you are in that rat race of the corporate world, and it's all about feeling great about that. But I think right now when I'm looking at my life, I just feel very content because my work is every bit of it is what I love. My clients are people that I love working with. I don't take anybody that I don't have a great rapport with, because my first discovery call is more to assess if I'm also wanting to work with this person, right? I mean, like, if this person is even ready to work with me. Because the other thing, Jeannie, is you have to be ready to be
Mm.
able to work with someone in that space. If you are a person who, and I've got one or two clients that I actually had calls with, and I'm like, no, you are not still ready. In my mind, I was very, very sure. So you need a little one or two more hiccups in your life to kind of, get into that space where you say, I'm ready now to really, really listen to someone and, be a part of a journey.
What
So,
I hear you saying is that your success went from being just basic math more to
yeah,
true impact,
yes,
you know,
yes,
that which is
absolutely.
so
And
much more meaningful to
yes,
have
yes,
impact
yes,
than a bank
yes.
account.
And so amazing, Jeannie, that I'm reaching out to, like, the fact I'm talking to you would never have happened, right? So I'm getting to know people who I would never have met otherwise, and from all across the world. Also, like, the day is more like, so my mornings are very precious to me, my early mornings, because I start my day from like 5:30 in the morning, because I meditate, then I go to my gym and I have my coffee, then I do all of that. And then I sit for like 15-20 minutes near the sea, and I kind of just take in a little bit of that. Then I come back home, which is around, you can say, 8:30 or something. So it just makes your day so much nicer, because you're looking forward to your day, every bit of your day after that. So I just feel it's a place where I feel content in a way. I
No,
feel
it
very
sounds
happy.
beautiful. That way you
Yeah,
start
yeah,
and the way
yeah,
you begin
yeah.
things is how you end things and
Yeah,
do things.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that sounds so beautiful.
Yeah, so I feel like, I'm in the best phase of my life, literally. I'm also not in that hustling phase anymore, where you're constantly in the hustle. And all through my life being in sales and marketing, I've been traveling like crazy all over. So recently I went on a vacation. I think when I spoke to you, I'd just come back from my vacation, or I was going for my vacation, something like that. So I went for 15 days. And so I'd gone to London and Edinburgh, and I've never taken a 15-day vacation in my life. It used to always be
Wow.
9 days, 7 days, 9 days, because I'll be like, okay, I have to come back, and whatever. So yeah, and this was, like, without my laptop, because I'm like, for 15 days, I told everybody I'm not available. So these small, small things that I never done before. And yeah, so I just feel good about a
Oh, I
lot of
know.
things.
Coming from where you worked and the level at which you worked, to leave your laptop at home for 15 days is
Yeah.
monumental. Monumental.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm curious if somebody was listening and they said, I know I'm not done, but I don't know where to begin. What would you give somebody as a first step? Because like you said, this feeling sometimes is percolating below the surface for a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
while. So
yeah,
what would
yeah,
be one small step someone
yeah.
could make into investigating if they were ready to reinvent or transition?
So it comes with a lot of discussions. So what happens is, when I'm coaching my clients, surprisingly, many of them actually start with the fact that they know what they want. So when I go deep into asking them questions around, what they really enjoyed in their work, specific examples, and I make them write all this, because we do a lot of worksheets together. And as they go through this entire process, by the end of it, could be completely different from where they started,
Hmm.
because they've deep dived into their own life. And actually, I make them write things, reflect on it, and a lot of things become clear as we go through this journey.
Yeah.
So it's not like I'm telling them anything. I'm just excavating it through
Mm.
them, but asking them those questions.
And that's how
So that is,
they come to the
yeah,
clarity by doing the work themselves.
yeah, yes, absolutely.
What would you say to a woman or man who felt like they've missed their window? It's too late
Mm.
for them to move on and start over again.
Yeah. So I just feel there is nothing like a window. And I think we've created such a big thing about this time and window and all of that. And when I see stories of people who've pivoted at 60 years and 65 years, there's one very famous industrialist in India. She pivoted at 55 from the corporate life, and she's become one of the biggest industrialists in the country from a corporate slave. She's become the biggest industrialist and she
I
pivoted
love
at
that.
55. So there are so many examples, of people actually doing that much later in life. So it's got nothing to do with age. I've
Yeah.
realized that it's got
But
nothing to do.
there is a prevailing, like, even if it's not true, there is a
Hmm.
prevailing thought in a lot of people's minds. It's too late, and it's good to say it out loud. It's not too late. It's
Yeah,
never too
yeah.
late.
It's never too late, and also to give some examples of people that they may know around. And like I always use that also many times. I use my own example and I say I also changed at a much later space in my life, 25 years of my corporate world, and then studies and all that. If you look at it, it's been a real long while, right? So I just feel it's about when you feel inside. It's that feeling inside, and it can come at any time of your life. The point is, are you listening to it? Are
Hmm.
you listening to it? Because many times it may have come and you brush it aside and just carried on.
Mm.
One very interesting question one of my clients asked, was actually just joined me. He said that you pivoted. He saw my entire career graph and he said, you just pivoted. And he said, supposing like I want to pivot, but financially I am not able to pivot. So
Ah,
that was his question, which was a very valid question.
sure.
Yeah. So I said this to him, that the most important thing we do in our careers is we give 100% to the company that we are working for. And I think that is the biggest mistake most people make. They don't invest on themselves at all. So I said,
Hmm.
if you can 20%, invest on yourself, 80%, please invest on the company, perfectly fine. But that 20% you have to invest in yourself. And that is why I said today, I think most of the people, like the younger people, I feel are more clear about the fact that there is nothing called loyalty to a company,
Very
right? I mean,
much
the
so.
younger,
That is, it's
yeah,
becoming more and more prevailing logic. And
yes,
I didn't want to skip over this. You bring up the point of money. Making a pivot, if you're doing what you love more than anything, the money seems to take care of itself. I mean,
absolutely.
it's not it's I
Yeah,
actually see people become more abundant and have more joy because
yeah,
they've switched from, as you said, like a corporate slavery into
yeah.
something they're truly passionate about.
Truly.
And if you love something, it shows and your business grows
Yeah,
and
yeah.
abundance
Yeah,
follows.
yeah. But the thing is here, most people want to immediately start abundance, right? So you
Mm,
have this job which is paying you a monthly salary. Yeah. So now it's not going to happen that immediately you pivot into something and that starts paying you the same. It's not going to happen. It takes a while for anything that you
no,
start to give it that patience at that time. So even you need to have that much savings in your bank account to be able to make sure that that time of maybe a year or two, I always say keep a couple of years always under your belt, that you can have to pivot into something, because then you'll make maybe way more than what you were making. But those 2 years or maybe a year and a half, that you can subsist with what you have. So I always so you have to make that kind of a choice. And the thing is, you can do something like what I did. For 2 years I was still contemplating, but I was getting clarity while I was in the job. So for somebody like that who may not have the savings of 2 years, you could at least start having those
yeah,
real conversations with yourself while you have a job. Because most people, what they do is when they have a job, they don't want to have any other conversation. It's
that's
just
right.
the job. But if you can do that, that also can help. So there are various ways in which you
Yes.
can manage, but I just feel that you should listen to your signals, and definitely pivot if you have an opportunity rather
Yeah.
than getting stuck to what
You
you're
can,
doing.
you should, you can, and you should be investing in yourself even while you're in your
Yeah,
career. You
yeah,
should never stop investing in I really believe that too.
yeah.
Since the name of the podcast is Growing Up Late, I'll just put you on the spot and ask you, what does growing up late mean to you? And what are you still growing into now, aside from taking 15-day vacations without your laptop? Because that's a big deal.
Yeah, so no, that's a fantastic thing. And I love this growing up late, yeah, because I feel we do grow up late. At least I've grown up late. One thing that I really understood the importance of, which I never did when I was young, because I was very ambitious and I was always like climbing the corporate ladder, going here, going there. One gets so stuck with meeting the objectives, meeting the numbers. Many times you don't prioritize your relationships.
Mm,
Even in the companies, right? You ruffle a lot of feathers. You may kind of, because you want to, get to that particular goal or that objective. And when I'm sitting today and looking at my life, I meet people, from my past life, for a coffee, or somebody connects with me on LinkedIn or on Instagram. You know what I remember about that person? I've forgotten everything about the targets. I've only remembered one thing. How did I feel being with this person?
mm,
And if I felt good being with that person, I go out of my way to have a coffee with that person. But if I did not feel good being with that person, or I felt ignored, or I felt not great, I avoid that person. So, or just meet him if it's convenient to me. So I realized, and everybody must be doing that, right? Like even
right.
people with me, everybody's doing that. But if somebody had told me that when I was 21 years old, I would have given that my foremost importance than
Mm.
other stuff, And so that's something I feel like now I really cherish. I cherish relationships so much more than I ever did
That's where
in
the
my
good
past.
stuff is, really. At the end of the day, you
Yeah.
save the
Yeah.
company a couple
Yeah.
of pennies on
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
widget. It's not the
Yeah.
same, as
And
the,
who remembers that? Because,
um,
companies move on, more
yes,
problems come up, more solutions have happened. People have
yeah,
forgotten what you did, whether you were even there. So, what you remember are those moments you spent together, and
yes.
how were they,
Uh,
So, that I feel was my biggest takeaway. Um, that I feel I wish somebody had told me that, or maybe people
mm.
did tell me and I ignored them, because that's also possible, because at that time you're running on your own steam.
Yes, I do. And you can climb all day long, but when you get to the top, you will be very alone because if you're
Yes.
not making the effort to put in the
Yeah, yeah.
relationships. And I totally agree. I always remember how people made me feel. I
Mm.
don't remember the conversation about
Yeah.
the paper clips and pencils. I just don't remember it.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
you're a person who we connected through LinkedIn. You ordinarily don't reach out. I ordinarily don't respond. I'm so grateful. I'm just so grateful. Because your outreach was so human and I knew that this was coming from a genuine, authentic person. It was a magnetic introduction for me. And I thoroughly enjoy being in your presence. And so I want to make sure, where can people find your book, your podcast, and how to work with you and the Elevare Advisory?
So thank you, Jeannie. And likewise, I mean, I have to say this. I was so excited to come on your podcast, and just kind of have this conversation with you. So this is my book. I can just show it here on this thing. This is Happiness is right here, is the
Nice.
book. And this is available on Amazon.com. So
Okay.
if you type happiness is right here and my name, Ruchika Singhal, you will find it there. Second thing is my podcast is called Lead with Ruchika. It's on Spotify and it's on Apple. And it's only about this. It's about reinvention. So it's about anybody who's going through that phase, they can listen to my podcast and they can kind of feel like somebody is walking along with them in that journey,
Mm,
even if they don't have a person physically with them. So it's more like that. So I've tried to do everything possible to help people and support people who are in that reinvention journey, in that transition where they feel alone, where they
yeah.
feel like, I don't know what to do here. Is it even a place I should be there? And I want to tell them this is the best place to be. And,
Mm,
this is the most amazing place to be in. And I want to give them that reassurance. And I think when you have that, you can be in that space without feeling vulnerable or feeling like I want to run out of this place, because everybody will make you run out of this place. Even your
sure.
closest people will make you run out of this place. So you need that anchor. So the book is there, there's a podcast there. And also on LinkedIn, I'm very, very active because that's where all my clients reach me through my name. So they can just, go there and there's a discovery call link there. So they kind of just do a call with me and they kind of tell me what they're going through. Some of them just have a call to understand what they should do. It's not like they always have to become my client or they always have to do this with me. They can just have a call, if they are feeling alone or and I'm very happy to do that call with people. So this is, what I've really, like I do. And my only thing, Jeannie, is I really want people to embrace this uncertainty, because without embracing uncertainty, you will never be able to blossom into something amazing. You'll
Mm.
always be stuck with something and you'll always be shrunk.
Yeah.
So just,
Yes.
mm,
We stay very small when we stay with
yeah,
what's safe and secure.
yeah,
I worked with a mentor for a while and she called it groundlessness, that
mm,
things
mm,
always change. The ground is always shifting beneath us. And if we
yeah,
can be comfortable with that
yeah,
feeling, what's meant to be will materialize. The journey
yeah,
really is
yeah,
within a lot of times, but you need to
yeah,
leave space for that.
yes, yes.
It's a kind
And
of a
then
sacred space for yourself.
so beautiful. And when you look at your life, and like when you cross that and you kind of move forward and you look at your life, you're like, okay, this was just one chapter in my life. So many
Hmm.
things, like you, Jeannie, you've kind of described, to me a few things, and I saw in your podcast. Now, when you look back at your life, you're like, okay, that was one of the chapters in my life.
Absolutely.
But at that time, it feels like this is the end of my life or this is my life. But
Yeah.
then it becomes just a chapter. And this is how that anchoring helps, to make you look at it as a chapter in your life and not your entire life.
Well,
And
you
not,
get stuck and then you allow a situation to define you
yeah,
when it's just a moment in time.
yeah,
And podcasts like yours and services like what you
yeah,
provide, and that's the reason I did my podcast too, because I think people don't
yeah,
realize they are not alone. This
yeah,
is a common journey, and I would say maybe we live 5, 6, 8 lives in the course of our life. And I
yes,
think if to continue to grow is a wonderful
yeah,
thing, but getting stuck in being
yeah,
defined by this marriage was supposed to
yeah,
last till the end of
yeah,
time, or this job, or this,
yeah, yes,
like you even said,
yeah,
empty nesting, my children are
yeah,
gone, my life has no meaning. It
yeah,
just isn't
yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so amazing that, because I kind of work with very senior people. Now they are so senior. Somebody would say, "Oh, he must be so confident. He's a vice president. He's led, countries across." But when something like this hits you, I remember one of them telling me that when he went to have a conversation with someone, his mouth was dry, he couldn't say anything. So this is how it kind of hits you. And then when you rejig that person, and that's why I said, when you do that deep work of excavating with that person, oh my god, this is all that you did. It just elevates you back again to who you really are, and not
Hmm.
get defined, like you said, by that one incident, and you make that your entire identity.
Yeah.
It's very easy to do that.
And isn't it amazing? Like why we would choose to latch onto that as our identity. I know the brain loves familiar, but to
Mm.
choose to latch onto that instead
Yeah,
of becoming, continuing
yeah,
to become what
yeah,
more you could be, because
yeah, yeah,
almost everyone I know
yeah,
and women that I've worked with are so much more joyful as they go
yeah,
forward in life than they
yeah.
what they left behind. They're grateful.
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
But at that time, because it's such a fresh trauma, they are not able to think clearly. They are
no.
not able to do anything. They're just defined by that moment. And that just keeps making them feel more and more shrunk every day. And if you don't kind of, use this time and you kind of take help or kind of use it in a better way to navigate yourself, you could actually go deeper and deeper into losing your confidence. So it's very,
Mhm.
very important to also how you are navigating that transitory phase to make it the most amazing phase for yourself. And that's why I always say bidding goodbye to your past identity.
Oh, I
Without
love
that,
that idea.
yeah, you cannot enjoy that space of saying, yes, I'm going to think something different here. You will start losing your confidence in that transition space. And that is the crucial point.